Hello folks, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In this video, we will be discussing about your government policies and interventions from your mains perspective. Alright, this video is presented to you by your faculty, Sushma KP. Let's get it started. See, first of all, what do you mean by policies and interventions? Because these are the kind of questions that are possible in a mains question. So you understand when I say policies, first and foremost, they are more of long term impact. When we say interventions, these are short term, meaning this has a broader objective. This has an immediate outcome. It is supposed to do something about it. For example, we can compare your National Education Policy 2020 and your PM Shri schools. Further on, we'll discuss in detail about that also. So, when we say policies and interventions, first and foremost, policies are long-term impact. Interventions are immediate or outcome related. Understanding why do we need policies and interventions? First and foremost, your government, if it is supposed to identify, let's say it has identified an issue with regarding to your poverty, how it has to go about to address that issue of poverty is what happens in the various stages of policies. Understanding and implementation. The process starts from, yes, first you will gather data where the poverty is, which demographic is it affecting most, which section of the people are coming under this. Again, in that also, what is the vulnerability scare, which areas, which districts, what is their employment status, education status, their standard of living. All of this will be taken first into consideration. Based on that, they will form a, let's assume, a preparation of policy. Then based on that, let's say they will introduce, implement it. Then after that, they will have a feedback mechanism. Based on that, again they will make changes to the policy. The whole point we're trying to tell is policy is not static. That is one word you have to understand. It is not static and it is constantly evolving. One example is for your NEP 2020 is a constant evolving topic. For the past 2 years, any changes that has been happening is because of multi-stakeholder changes. Inputs received from all of those is being adjusted into your NEP 2020. Understanding? So, this is what we discussed, NEP 2020, and one example is your PM Shri school, where they are trying to get in your NEP 2020, the whole gist is about creating an education for 21st century, which is viable. So, this is the bigger broad picture. To do something about that, let's say I will create a model which other schools in other union territories, states, everyone can implement. For example, I would call it as lighthouse schools, a model schools. Understanding, which will be having the same features, which will be in consonance with NEP 2020. Understanding? Now, because we brought in PM Shri schools, here throughout the video we will be discussing the content with respect to particular schemes, policies and interventions. With respect to your PM Shri schools, PM schools for Rising India, it came out and rolled out in your September 2022. It is under your Ministry of Education. The objective of this particular scheme is to make sure that it is in aligned and consonance with your NEP 2020 or National Education Policy 2020, which is nothing but your education which will create employment based on the workforce that is out there. There should not be a breach or a more of opposing forces between your employment and education. It should be in consonance. Okay, for that, what is they that is this PM Shri school trying to do? First and foremost, modern infrastructure. With respect to modern infrastructure means your school facilities, more of your toilets, right? And also smart boards. When we say Digital India is an umbrella program, you have to bring in that also in your classroom setup. Understanding, involving and introducing digital education as a part of curriculum. Next is with respect to green schools, utilization of your solar panels, wastewater treatment, grey water treatment, cleanliness drives, Swachh Bharat mission. All of these are sub components which will be incorporated into this. Then we say inclusive education. Again, to make sure that your SC, ST, women, all this section are more holistically, actively brought under the ambit of the school system, education system. Digital learning is where usage of tablets, smartphones, smart boards. Understanding when we say smartphones, basically you having to give them an impart digital education. Skill development, that is you bring in vocational training from 6th standard onwards. Understanding foundational literacy and numeracy as from your very basics to create Nipun Bharat. Understanding strengthening of foundational and numerical literacy. Then teacher training, creating a 4-year integrated B.Ed courses, understanding and also making sure that the teachers are very well versed with having to implement this curriculum. Performance based selection, again there also you will see the performance assessment etc. of your states, union territories trying to incorporate and also incorporate other various existing programs such as your Kendriya Vidyalayas. So, why should the government intervene in the first place? See, when your market is not, we all know that we have a market economy, mixed economic model where market intervenes. But when the market is not able to satisfy the general population, general public, and it has not been able to create a equitable good, then this is where the necessity of state comes in. What market can't provide, what private can't provide, then you can't let the people be like that only. So state should intervene and provide things. This is what we call as social welfare, social justice. This is where your DPSPs will come into the picture. Have a look at this. So, to address the social inequalities, the government steps in and tries to fill that void or gaps. So, we can classify the, now we say policies, it's a very huge umbrella term. In that policy, also different sections are there with respect to health, education, based on the schemes are given out. So let's have a look at this. Social welfare means it will have schemes such as your Manrega, your 100-day wages, Ujjwala Yojana, and also this will be bringing with your LPG subsidies. Economic schemes with respect to your Atmanirbhar Bharat, self-sufficiency, GST. Okay, with respect to education, like the previous example we discussed, National Education Policy 2020, PM Shri schools, Samagra Shiksha, bring in a holistic development for education. Then with regard to health, we have Ayushman Bharat, healthcare for all. Then we have Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, the Jan Arogya Yojana, wherein we again key focus is for your health for all, holistic health, and also transforming your healthcare from disease based to wellness based. Understanding. So next is with respect to your agriculture, PM Kisan, Fasal Bima, insurance, and also giving additional income to your farmers. Then we have with respect to environment, Jal Shakti, solar mission, Campa funds, compensation for your environment. Again, here when we say schemes are bought in under different sections. Technology, we have the umbrella schemes of your Digital India, Stand Up India, Startup India, involving and fostering the sense of entrepreneurship. So, how exactly is the life of a policy? First and foremost, the need is identified, like we discussed with respect to your poverty. You first identify what area needs to be addressed, then you formulate a policy based on the need, inputs, etc. collected. Here you will bring in the consultation of various expert committees, Niti Aayog, states, understanding. So it's a multi-stakeholder approach. Then it gets cabinet approval, it is implemented. Now, if a policy stops at this stage, then it is static. It doesn't provide the necessities that is needed for a policy to grow, or you have to benefit from the policy stops from here. The next stage is where that is very important, and that's where we tell that policies are evolving. Then you monitor how the scheme is performing. Is it now, like we said, no need, is that need being addressed? If so, okay. If not, what other things can be done? This is where it is feedback and reform. This is the life cycle of a policy. So with respect to any schemes in general, if you see, it is all more about, like I told, for a policy where market fails, government steps in. So these in generalized picture, where do we see? Largely in your DPSPs, where we speak in your Article 38, which speaks more about your social order, Article 39 for the welfare of people, equitable, more of wealth distribution, and also in a manner that, right, it is holistic and sustainable distribution of wealth. Article 41, right to work, education, which are considered as the key cornerstones for a human being to develop his or realize his full potential. Then we speak about your Article 47, which speaks about your health, nutrition, and all of these are shared responsibilities between your center and state. This is where your lists will come in the seventh schedule. Understanding? That is your concurrent list topics. Look at this. So what are the institutional frameworks? Meaning bodies which are very much associated with the policy, consultation, implementation, that is giving effective feedback, and also to an extent monitoring. Those are your ministries, departments, Niti Aayog, Finance Commission, devolution of funds, performance-based grants recently, state governments, Panchayat Raj institutions. So basically what we're trying to tell is your policy has to be in a very decentralized approach. Only then will it be able to realize the potential for the reason with which it was introduced. Now look at this with respect to some of the schemes and the interventions they were bringing about, which means particular objective. Ayushman Bharat was bought in for universal health coverage. PM Kisan, again, additional income for the farmers. Manrega, again, 100-day wage employment, again, to give an additional source of income. Ujjwala Yojana, again, clean cooking fuel. Your NEP 2020 education roadmap to align with 21st century needs. So these are all certain interventions. If we will see how the allocation of funds is for policies from particular sections. This is from your 2024 budget, where for health 89,000 crores were allocated. For education 1,26,000 crores were allocated. Agriculture 1,27,000 crores. For your rural development 1,59,000 crores, and infrastructure was 10,000 crores and above. So what are the tools that are used in the implementation? See, first and foremost, in order to make sure the policy is again reaching, the need is being addressed, first thing you have to do is plug the gaps. Now you have to make sure the loopholes, that is when we say the leaks, are to be plugged in. For that, you will use tools such as your Jandan, Aadhaar, mobile seeding. You will also bring in things such as your DBT's direct benefit transfer. And all of this was created based on your socio-economic caste census of your 2011. And above all this, first of all, if you have to identify there are issues like this, you have to have a grievance redressal mechanism. So you will bring in your CP grams, and also one of the largest way that India is moving towards the 21st century is through your governance based on good governance, that is maximum governance, minimum government. So you bring in digitization to avoid corruption, increase accountability, increase transparency, and one main important thing is to keep the citizens involved in the policy making. Understanding, for example, we have MyGov app, which does the exact same. All right. We will further down be discussing about a few of the schemes also. Okay, in depth. One example we can take is your Ayushman Bharat. The whole point of Ayushman Bharat was to give an insurance coverage, but in such a manner that it will be cashless and paperless. Understanding? So in that manner, what will happen? The person can be, in case any issue happens, hassle free. He doesn't have to run behind each particular department for approvals, sanctions, and also it has a coverage of up to 5 lakh rupees per family. Understanding, in this more than 50 crore people have benefited. We have more than 26,000 plus hospitals bought in this. And again, like as usual, any policy, this policy also has a lot of issues. For example, again, fraud happens with respect to identification. The hospitals, in fact, if you have to bring in your private investments into this, private investments are hesitant to go towards your rural areas. They are more trying to be present only in the urban areas. So there is a divide there. And another thing is, because of bringing of all your e-governance, that is paperless, cashless, which means it has to also have good digital infrastructure. The issue in the rural areas with respect to digital infrastructure is another major hurdle. Okay. Then is with respect to Manrega. Manrega scheme again is a very important scheme where it provides your 100 days work. This also is a very good scheme from a social welfare perspective, but there are again associated issues with this, such as look at this delayed wages, and also one more thing is the suppression with respect to more of the people associated. Now, the whole point of Manrega is to create an active asset as well as contribute for the wages, right? But here, what is happening is that level of your asset building is not happening. Okay, the entire twin objective of trying to address assets for the particular, let's say, let's focus on a particular area. With your Manrega, asset also will be developed, people also will be employed, but here both of them are not happening in a simultaneous manner. Okay, 7.8 crore people have been active workers, and this provides us income safety net during distress times, or because most of your agricultural workers will have this lean season where they can be benefited from this. Another thing is with respect to Digital India. Again, Digital India is an umbrella scheme which is trying to bring India on towards the verge of digitization in all sectors. Understanding? But again, same thing, connectivity, rural divide, or a rural urban divide, and also awareness, digital illiteracy, right? These continue to persist. Now, we will see schemes in detail. Understanding? First thing is your Ayushman Bharat. Understanding? Otherwise called as Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. This comes under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. The aim of this particular scheme is universal health coverage for your poor and vulnerable sections of the society. First thing is, they are here trying to bring in a coverage for 5 lakh rupees per family per year. Again, if you see, one of the main thing here is this was brought in to make sure that in Indian scenarios, if any major issues with respect to health happens, it has the ability to shift an entire income group. That is, you fall a level below. So this should not happen with respect to healthcare, and a base or an insurance or a coverage has to be given. That was the whole purpose of your Ayushman Bharat. So if you see how is this performing now with respect to your Ayushman Bharat, to make sure that it is again paperless, it is cashless, people have been given your ABBA ID cards. Understanding, which covers more than 26,000 hospitals, 5.5 crore plus people have benefited from this. So this is in as a policy, it is a good perspective, but it has a lot of other limitations also. Again, in this, you will try to bring in your allied hospitals, associated hospitals, who will try to tie up. Again, these hospitals are not ready to tie up with respect to the rural areas. So, focus and concentration is more in the urban areas. And again, because you are telling it is all cashless, paperless, so it has to be more of digital infrastructure should be well developed and built. But that is again the issue here. And also fraudulent claims are being seen, One main thing is it doesn't address the issue of people migrating from one state to another state if they're living here. So the interstate portability issues are being very largely witnessed, and which is hampering your migrant and mobile population. The next is mission shakti. See, with respect to mission shakti, again this also we can call it as an umbrella scheme, which means it has other sub components under it. See, a mission Shakti more of has like let's say components, but this will be a section of people. This has people covering from 0 to 6 years of age, adolescent girls, working women, pregnant mothers, lactating women. Understanding? So, if we try to address each one of them, domestic violence, women who are hurt from domestic violence. So you have these things in the Western countries, the concept of domestic homes, domestic violence homes. India pe we have something called as Shakti Sadhanas, so temporary homes, and also to provide your collective alternate dispute redressal for women, like your Nari Shakti centers. Okay, so these are the things that you have to keep a tab on. Nari Shakti centers. Then you have something called as Shakti Sadhanas. You will hear trying to bring about your uh, violence affected, domestic abuse, working mothers के लिए creche facilities, and for your adolescent girls के लिए you try to address the issue of um, anemia. With respect to children, you try to deal with child stunting, child wasting, nutritional standards to be increased. You bring in an awareness on this. Your ASHA groups are assisted with apps, then given more of your connectivity to all these other schemes, and so as to they can give awareness to the other sections. So these are all the things that are bought under. The sub schemes of Mission Shakti is Sambal, that is protection, grievance redressal, and Samarthya, empowerment, skill, nutrition. What is the target of Mission Shakti? It is more of all the aspects of a woman has to be covered under this. It's a one-stop solution, one-stop center. It is operational in more than 700 plus districts. One of the major issues, if you see, again, lack of awareness in rural areas, and there are also interdepartmental coordinations are reduced, and the funds are very underutilized, and if utilized, it is not actually going to the need. Next is your NEP 2020, National Education Policy 2020. Again, like we have discussed a lot on NEP from the starting, it is an approach of education where you will try to bring it for on par with 21st century educational needs. You change the mode. Before NEP 2020, it was 10 plus 2 scheme. Understanding? So you change from 10 plus 2 to 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Where each stage you have a different way of learning. For example, let's say from 3 years you start to 8 years, your learning is more based on activities. You learn through more of, let's say, rather than your blunt force rote learning, you give priority to foundational literacy, trying to address challenges, but in scenarios where children are better equipped with. So you give them more of things which will involve real life challenges, or you will try to identify or make them suitable enough that education will not become a burden on the child, but rather a more of learning activity. For this to happen, you also make sure that your teacher training curriculum is also integrated with that, which means 4 years of B.Ed intensive integrated training. And the teachers are also on the line of your NEP 2020. And the targets of NEP 2020 is to increase foundational literacy by 2027, and increase the gross enrollment ratio, uh, to make sure this is visualized well, we have the sub part, that is what we said, the intervention, PM Shri schools, Nipun Bharat, where you increase the foundational literacy. Again, where is the issue? Digital divide, rural areas pay, and also urban rural divide. One more issue is it has state level resistance, because one of the prime reason for state level resistance is uh, focus to this children will be given up until class 5 in mother tongue, and after that the three language formula policy implementation, that is one of the issues. And second thing is, with respect to children, the curriculum should be based on competence based test outcomes. So it should be holistic of that, which means just a blind no detention policy should not be agreed. Understanding? And also when you bring it to the higher stages, there is a delay in implementation. Next is Poshan 2.0. With respect to Poshan Abhiyan, it is again a more of holistic with respect to your health, wellness, and mass awareness. These are the three keyword you have to be understanding here. It is introduced by Ministry of Women and Child Development. It is to reduce stunting, wasting, anemia in children and women. One of the important components or features of your Poshan Abhiyan is Jan Andolan, which is associated with it, which means generating, building mass awareness campaigns. And one of the main things is it has sub schemes of your Anganwadi services, schemes for adolescent girls to reduce your anemia. By 2025, it has aims of reducing further the percentage of child stunting and anemia. The limitations, if you see, of Poshan Abhiyan, first and foremost is the data that is given out by the state agencies and your National Health Family Survey is very different. So the claim is very higher rather than what the ground reality is. Second thing is, because of all of these things, the Anganwadi workers have also claimed of an overload of work. Understanding? And also, yes, you have launched the scheme, sub schemes, everything, but in the monitoring and taking proper feedback, there is significant gaps that has been observed. What are the major initiatives if you see under Poshan Abhiyan? Poshan Pakwada, it is an annual nutrition drive, and also it is about creating more awareness. This will have your sub components of Eat Right campaign and all of those things, right amount of foods, giving more importance to your millets, fortified foods. So that happens in the month of March. Poshan Ma, that is again nutrition awareness month, which happens in the month of September. Anemia Mukt Bharat, that is you eliminate and considerably reduce this anemia in adolescent girls, women, pregnant, lactating mothers, and Saksham Anganwadi and Mission Poshan 2.0, which is where it is merged with your integrated child development services. Understanding? Next is your Digital India program. It is an umbrella program. It is to bring about a national drive in trying to move towards digitization and give digital literacy. The sub schemes, if you see under this, are your Umang, DigiLocker, BharatNet, which is trying to provide broadband for your internet connectivity. Bring rural, that is where we each time we kept telling urban rural divide and digitization. So this is to plug that divide. Understanding? But again, if you see what are the limitations, low rural digital literacy, cyber security issues, and also another thing is different platforms, different departments interoperability is still very less. Understanding? One other thing is one nation, one ration card. This scheme has again brought in the concept where you will try to utilize your Aadhaar and biometrics and try to access subsidized food grains throughout the country. This is more helpful for your migrants and mobile population. One of the issues again is because the first word I used was your Aadhaar and mobile seeding biometrics. Some data is faulty in this itself. And also the migrant, another issue they face is the language issue. Another issue is with respect to the interoperability between the states. So these are all the associated issues. And also another issue is your servers, that is your digital services, rural areas where the slow internet connectivity is not there. So all of these challenges it poses. As of now, 81 crore beneficiaries are added under this. By this we mean National Food Security Act. This will have 100% national coverage and it is under Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. What is the aim of this? Portability of food security benefits, which is under your National Food Security Act. Next is Mission Karma Yogi. Look at this. Mission Karma Yogi, it is basically to bring in the civil servants who will be future ready civil servants in the areas of your ask, aptitude, attitude, skill, knowledge. That is the keyword here you have to know. Attitude, skill, knowledge. It covers your central government, state government employees, I mean, from your group A to group C services. Another important keyword with respect to Mission Karma Yogi means it is rule based to role based training. It is launched by your Department of Personal Training. It is to bring in a concept of capacity building in the civil servants. It targets about more than 25 million civil servants. The issues, again, if you see, there is a change in the resistance, the wanting for a technological integration into bureaucratic model. Again, there is a huge resistance because again that will bring in a more of change from the conventional pattern to the modern ways. Yes or no? And another thing with regarding to your Mission Karma Yogis, it is a IGOT, that is you have interoperability also seen in this particular mission. Next is your Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0 and Aspirational Districts Program. Swachh Bharat, we all know it's a cleanliness drive and also to bring in. There are various sub schemes under your Swachh Bharat where you have Swachh Bharat Mission with respect to open defecation, clean Ganga, and also maintaining clean river bodies, lands. So in that we have different things of your Swachh Bharat Mission, Urban 2.0, Swachh Bharat Mission, Grami 2.0. We also have your garbage free cities, ODF, open defecation free plus, open defecation double plus statuses are also awarded. This launched by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Ministry of Jal Shakti. As of now, the villages have been declared 100% ODF free. 62% of the villages are now ODF plus, and urban waste processing has also improved considerably. But the issue we see is still manual scavenging continues, waste segregation, even though we have wet waste, dry waste separation, it still persists. And also, one main issue is you are not changing the behavior of the people at large. Even though it is about mass awareness drive, trying to bring in a considerable change in the society, that has not yet been very actively yet observed. Another thing with respect to your aspirational districts program is, again, as the name states itself, it is for a rapid transformation of underdeveloped areas or districts. So you will create like model districts. This is also, you will use in things such as smart governance, e-governance. You will make it to a way that other districts can have a look at this and transform theirs. That will involve in aspects of your education, healthcare, your housing, understanding. So as of now, it is a target program, which means it focuses not everyone, but just 112 districts are focused under this. This is by initiative of your Niti Aayog. One of the issues that we find is with respect to funding, with respect to implementation, gaps in the monitoring, understanding. Look at this. How can we monitor and evaluate the tools which we use to it? Have a look at this. First thing is to address your now if we say Manrega, technically wages should be transferred at the end of a week. And with respect to your let's say food security, with respect to food security, we do give you subsidized food grains in ration shops, but many people have complained that yes, there is a lot of quality issues. So there was this debate where they decided how about we just transfer it to their bank accounts. But this is where again the issues will start as to yes, for most people bank accounts are not there. That we try to address with your Jandan Yojana. And then another thing is duplicitous data, fraudulent claims. So these are there. So for that, how do you try to bring in? You try to plug the leakages through your DBT, direct benefit transfers. Then you have CP grams for your grievance redressal. We also have brought in a large number of e-governance, and more of e-governance has to be brought in so as to reduce corruption, increase accountability, and provide your more of dashboards, that is grievance redressal platforms, and also MyGov apps where people can give and voice out their opinions. So a feedback mechanism is also very well taken. And RTI acts to increase your transparency. Okay, so information is the key in a democracy. In general, if you see for schemes, policies, what are the challenges? First and foremost, fund leakages. Another thing is lower awareness at grassroots level. For almost all the schemes that we have discussed, we have spoken about the fact of lack of awareness in rural areas, lack of awareness in general. Another thing is your digital divide. One main thing is policy overrides. One particular issue, multiple policies are there. Again, among them also there is no interoperability. Okay. So there is also constant friction between center and states over your schemes. They're centrally sponsored, central space sector. States are telling they are imposed the schemes on what they want. They want to decide on that particular based on the issues that they are facing. Another thing is last mile delivery of services are yet to be visualized. And one last thing that is affecting everything is corruption and inefficiency. So, how can we go ahead? First is outcome based budgeting, gender budgeting, responsive budgeting. So, these ways, if we bring in, that is, you have to bring in or allocate budget based on how it is functioning. You have to be focused on multiple areas and not just implementing a scheme. Decentralized planning, wherein you will bring a multi stakeholder approach. You will have real-time dashboards which will give correct data. This will not have a conflict of data like how we saw with respect to National Family Health Survey and your state agencies. So this has to be curbed. Another thing is you have to integrate technology into these usage of your artificial intelligence, big data, computing. So this will give active real-time information monitoring, and further feedback changes from this also will take a huge bump in the changes. Another thing is for your particular issue and multiple schemes being there, you have to bring policy, okay, convergence. That is, you have to meet at a common point. You have to bring them all under one particular arena. So what are usually the committee suggestions with regarding to your policies that you can have any scheme? See, let it be any scheme, but these are all the commonalities that we observe in the government schemes at large. So in your, according to second ARC reforms, one of the ways we can make sure that policies are effective is you bring in e-governance, bring in decentralization, bring in multi-stakeholder approach. 15th Finance Commission has also given performance linked grants. So this will again increase the chances of and reduce your center state friction. Niti Aayog has asked of your SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals localization, bringing in more of your aspirational districts. And again, here even Niti Aayog speaks about your grassroots level planning, involvement in the policy. And economic survey also gives your outcome versus output analysis. So these are some of the ways that you can incorporate irrespective of what the question is. So let's say they have asked you a mains question on a particular scheme or the components of the scheme. First, you will go ahead with introducing or defining, let's say, about that particular scheme or that policy, like the intervention, and you will give examples of schemes, sub schemes, what they were, right? You will address the challenges, then you will tell how or what mechanisms are used to address these challenges. You will also give a little bit of way ahead as to what can be done. That is what your previous maybe saw committee suggestions, and at the end you give a conclusion. Conclusion can be more about like your government intervention is very much important for a inclusive growth, sustainable growth, development, and also to plug the gaps in which, see, India is trying to be a welfare society. So in order to do the government intervention is very important, and for that to happen, a good service or last mile service delivery is needed. For that, we have to make sure the governance models are strengthened, and we have to address the more of gaps, and also strengthen the existing institutions and try to strengthen the existing schemes and rather create a lot of those pile it on top. So you stack, at the end of the day, the stack tends to fall. Understanding? So you link the policies with SDGs, ethics, good governance. And this is how your approach has to be for your schemes, policies, or interventions. We've reached the end of the content. If you like our content, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, share it along with your friends. Thank you.